All right, what's up, everyone? We are live again. This is NHL Hit the Ice show presented by Awesemo.com. Here with Nolan Kelly. Thanks for stopping by the Fantasy Cruncher Guide show if you did. Now we're going to talk over the slate. So, Nolan, how are you doing?
It's happening. I'm ready to go. I like this slate.
Yeah. Happy Vincent Trocheck night? Is that right?
It's Keith Yandel night, part two.
Yeah. Um, I don't know. So maybe we should talk about that right off the top. I know
Sure.
that's going to be a popular question in chat um, as people start to come in. Looks like we don't have our normal allotment of viewers just yet, but what does it do? Like, how does this differ for you as far as having a $2,500 center compared to a $2,500 defenseman? Because to me, it's quite a bit different.
Absolutely. Yeah. I think like obviously I generally stack, so you're not going to get that one-off potential with like Yandel. The floor is obviously a lot smaller with or the floor is a lot lower with a center, especially like a second line center who's not in the power play. He's coming back from injury, so we don't really know what his minutes are going to be like. So there's a lot of variables to playing Trocheck tonight as opposed to Yandel, where you're going to get 22 minutes and probably like three points minimum at the bare min salary. With Trocheck, you could be looking at a goose egg tonight. That being said, the ownership is going to be a hell of a lot less too, right? We're not looking at 50%.
Correct.
I would guess it's going to be closer to 15%, somewhere in that range, 10, 15. And especially he's still listed as day to day, and he hasn't been officially cleared yet. So my guess is that ownership could even be lower than we expect it to be, just because people aren't 100% sure that he's going to play tonight, even though we do expect him to. But I like that line. I like the third line as well as kind of a pivot off that line. But I will have some of them. I think I'll probably be a little bit underweight on the field. What's your take?
Yeah, so the thing, and you kind of hit on it. So the thing for Trocheck being 2,500, clear misprice. I mean, when he plays, he's at least 3K more than that on DK. And I think he got up to maybe 6,500 at one point earlier in the season. He's a very good player, but it's much different with the center, right? Because there's more of an opportunity cost. Whereas these defensemen, like you mentioned, Yandel, when he was 2,500, you had a pretty solid floor, whether it was 2.5 or 3. I think he ended up getting like 4. And that's crushing it for a min-salary defenseman. Yeah. So what Optimizer's going to do, what Fantasy Cruncher's going to do, is they're going to project him normal. They're not going to project him like he's a $2,500 player. And what that's going to do if you're even strength stacking or stacking at all is you're going to get a ton of him. So, like, for example, I think I got like 25-30% of the Trocheck line. And if you want that, that's fine. But like Trocheck himself has somewhat of a floor just because he shoots a lot. If he actually does end up playing, he plays in the power play. But
Second power play.
right, but it can really skew your exposures if you don't limit him or limit Florida altogether. Because he's just going to carry so much value in himself. He's going to up the value of Bukestad and Huberdeau if you're even strength stacking.
Yeah.
So just be aware of that, I think, is the main thing. If you like Florida too with Trocheck, which, I mean, there's no reason not to, I don't think. Just be aware of what kind of exposure he's going to lead to with your stacks on a site like Fantasy Cruncher. So just kind of wanted to hit off that, right off the top, because that's kind of the important question of the night. Again, don't overthink it, but it's definitely much different for me than having a $2,500 defenseman.
Yeah, I agree. And so Florida's implied for 3.2 goals tonight. That's a little bit. I mean, they pretty much have 3 lines that are going to spread that out their ice time, and probably 3 lines that can score really. So I can't imagine his projection is all super high, and I can't imagine they're going to throw him in at 20 minutes a game either. So there's definitely reason for trepidation there. Are you buying into the whole Toronto went back-to-back narrative? Playing a huge game against the Lightning last night, kind of maybe this is a letdown spot for them, or are you on them?
Yeah, it could be. I just tend to trust the numbers with this kind of stuff. Toronto I have as a very good team. They are a good team record-wise. underlying numbers wise, it is a back-to-back. I get it. But you're still expecting a ton of shots. I think Toronto, regardless of the back-to-back, is going to be able to generate a lot of offense here, even if Trocheck plays. He's still not a great defensive center. And coming back, I don't know, maybe he's not completely up to speed. It's hard to get to that game speed, I'm sure. First game back of a big layoff. So, yeah, I mean, I like Toronto here quite a bit. Do you think they're going to be pretty chalky? I have to imagine with a 6.5 total here.
That's a good question. I'm not entirely sure. I just noticed as well, like Andreas Johnson is on Toronto 1. Hyman's been moved down to Toronto 2.
Yep. Yeah. So it's going to be Matthews, Nylander, Hyman, and then Tavares, Marner, Andreas Johnson. But anyways, do you have a favorite line here with that being said?
I was just going by what you had to say about Matthews there. I mean, I think Toronto 3 is so cheap there, and they're all kind of getting like even ice time on 5 and 5. But one of the advantages of having Toronto 3, which I had last night, and it did me pretty well, was that they were both on the power play, or like we assumed they were both going to be on the power play with Kadri and Kapanen as well on power play 1. Now it looks like Kapanen is off power play 1 and Matthews is on the power play 1. So you have to give a little bit of an uptick to Toronto 2. Hyman, I don't know. Like, there's probably like a nothing switch. They're probably about the same level of maybe a little bit of an uptick for Toronto 1, I guess, from that perspective. But this is always the problem with Toronto, right? It's like all three of these lines are pretty good. I guess we expect that Barkov would match up against Tavares.
Yep. I was just going to talk about that a little bit. So in their game on the 15th of December, these two teams played in Florida, and the Barkov line, for the most part, matched Tavares. It saw about double the amount of time that it did against the Matthews line. Could it be different tonight? It could be, but Florida did win that game 4-3 in OT, and coaches tend to stick with what worked. So I expect we're going to see the Barkov line against Tavares. They've done that. I mean, they've hard matched with Barkov even when Trocheck has been in the lineup, so I wouldn't worry about Trocheck returning and thinking he's going to get a hard match against Tavares. I think that leaves the door open for Matthews and Nylander and Hyman. I wasn't expecting Trocheck to be back, but again, I don't think that makes Florida 2 all that much better defensively. Offensively, it makes them way better, I think. But
no, like as far as I guess, like when we factor it in, like Barkov is, he has the rep of being a pretty good defensive center. Still, like with him and Dadonov are allowing 13 high danger chances against this season. We don't have a lot of sample size with Toronto, but 13 for them together, those two in 500 minutes, which isn't like shutdown level. I mean, obviously they're going up against the team's top lines every night, so that's probably skewed a little bit. But the second and third line, like Borgstrom and Trocheck, aren't too far off of that, though obviously they're probably getting the better matchups. Are you of the opinion that Barkov's just an elite shutdown center?
I don't think he's an elite shutdown center, at least not with these line mates. Vetrano, not great defensively. And they were having a tough-ish time with Huberdeau, Dadonov, and Barkov centering those two. So I'm really just not worried about Florida. It's a good power play matchup for the Leafs as well. Luongo has really struggled as of late. So
yeah.
There's nothing holding me back from playing Leafs here, I'll say that.
That's another X factor. The Florida goaltending has just been so bad this year that it's like you kind of have to up all of those numbers, right?
Yeah, I agree.
So tough calls though in both of them, because you pretty much have three lines from each team that are all viable. So
right,
it's tough to decide what to do. But I agree that probably Toronto 2 is probably the best option.
Yeah, I like playing this Toronto 3 line more at home, but they're going to get the depth of Florida, which is not good at all. Even with Trocheck back, it helps a little bit. But Toronto 3 got there last night. Like, I think they were in the top, some of the top lineups in tournaments at the end of the night.
Toronto 3, yeah.
Yeah, so, they can get it done. They're all on the power play as well. But, yeah, for me, it's going to go mostly the Matthews line. I'll probably get a sprinkle of Tavares, Janssen, and Marner. But I just like to avoid Barkov if I can, if there's better matchups and you've got elite players like Matthews. Whatever you think of Nylander at this point, he's creating a ton of chances. They've got to go in at some point, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
So, Yeah, this one should be.
Buy low.
It should be a fun watch. I mean, it should be a lot of shots back and forth, and I think a lot to like. Just be careful with Trocheck if you're using an optimizer. Like, limit him, or just be aware of what you're doing if you're keeping him at 100% exposure or max 100%. All right, defenseman here: Yandel, Morgan, Riley, the two pretty obvious options, and I like Gardner less now that Matthews is not on the second unit. I liked him with Matthews, Nylander as a trio on the power play too, but now that Matthews has moved up to one, takes a little bit away from Gardner, and he's up to 4,700. Any other guys you want to mention?
No, I think like Riley's sort of like a upside play. Like I feel like his floor, even though he's priced up with some of these other defensemen, his floor isn't as high as like the Giordanos of the world, you know. Like so he could go off, but he's also just like legally his shot generation's a little bit lower. So I mean I'll have him in some sacks and some power play stacks, but I prefer to just go up to Giordano or even like maybe Carlson tonight.
I would agree. So that, I mean, Giordano, you mentioned he's my guy tonight. So I'm not going to go to a lot of Morgan Riley outside of the few Toronto 1 stacks I have, and then maybe sprinkle them in some Matthews stacks.
Sounds good.
Goalies you want to talk about? I hate talking about goalie, but you got anyone?
Sparks. I guess like Luongo, if you're going to do a stack and you're buying into that narrative, he's super cheap, so it's not like he gets an E grade from Osmo, so I would say it's probably not the best play. Sparks like should see a lot of shots.
I think both these guys should see a lot of shots here, but isn't Gardner skating with Matthews line? I don't know if he's going to spend a lot of even strength time with them. I haven't looked at that, but the power play is what I was talking about. Ice it. So he may still get some even strength time with them. That's fine.
Just taking a look at Gardner here. So Gardner, no, it's pretty spread out.
Yeah, that's what I figured. At home, they probably do it a little bit different. But.
Yeah.
All right, let's move it on to the next game. We've got Montreal and Columbus. 2.8 implied total for the Canadiens. 3.4 for the Blue Jackets. Carey Price in net. We don't know who's going yet for the Blue Jackets. We should know in the next hour or so. So you'll know this by lock. What do you like here, Nolan? Got any news to talk about?
Just that Brandon Dubinsky is back in for the Blue Jackets alongside Wenberg and Kevin Stenlund, who I've never heard of until like 3 days ago. He's not a very good player. Wenberg, that line's pretty terrible, honestly. Like Wenberg might get one shot per 3 games. So that's all the same. Everything else is pretty much the same for the Blue Jackets. And then I think the Habs did a little shoving. Oh yeah, Byron's out for the Habs. So Charles Hudon draws in. He's on the third line, and Tatar moves up to the second line with Domi and Lehkonen. And then I forgot to check their power plays. It looks like the power plays are still a total mess, but at least you have some Gallagher, Drouin on Montreal power play 1 now. So I can't remember what it was like previously, but it was like Armia, Agostino, like just ran that on power play 1. It was terrible. So that at least makes them a little bit more appealing. I don't know. Are you on anyone in this game?
Yeah, I like the Columbus side, so I'm with the favorite here. I don't really like much at all on Montreal. They've struggled defensively. I would expect that top line I'm talking about. I would expect that top line to be okay offensively at the very least, but they're going to get a lot of time against Dubois, Atkinson, and Panarin, and like that line is in the upper echelon of lines in the NHL right now. Like they should be considered probably in the top 5 just off the top of my head. Maybe just outside of it, but they're not really a line I want to mess with, especially when they're at home. And then I like the Jenner line too. So I don't really love any matchups on Montreal for their top 6. Going with the value on the Jenner line, they fit with a lot of the other top stacks. And then I'm definitely going to have exposure to this CBJ1. Really, really like them. Yeah. What about you?
The only thing that scares me is just how hot Montreal's goaltending has been lately. Price has been great. Niemi's been great. So, I'm a little bit worried that we could see like a return performance. Like Price is a pretty streaky goalie. If he gets hot, he's among the best in the game. He's only let in 2 goals in his last 2. So there's a chance, I guess, that he could see a ton of shots and still be like the nuts goalie on the night if he stands on his head again. I wouldn't mind throwing Price into a few just sort of random if you're going for some chalkier stacks, just because he has that upside there. Though obviously the win equity isn't great. And then on the Columbus side, yeah, I mean, if Montreal's giving up these chances, the flip side of that argument is if their goaltending doesn't hold up, my God, like we could see one of these, like. It could be a barrage from Columbus here at any point because Montreal's had no business being in any of these games recently.
Oh, they've been getting outchanced pretty handily.
Yeah, Niemi had 51 saves last game.
Oh, that's right. I forgot about that. Yeah, I don't know what's going on there, but Price has looked good when I've watched Montreal. I haven't watched a ton of them, but what I have, he's looked good these last couple of weeks. So
95 shots against in the last 2 for Montreal.
That's like Islanders of last year bad.
Yeah.
Like 2-game sample, okay, but I do like Columbus's top 6 here quite a bit, and
yeah, and like I'm guessing they're probably not going to be super highly owned tonight because they're fairly expensive and maybe just flying a little bit under the radar with Calgary 1.
Yeah, I agree. Like Calgary won the very obvious spot, but I think this, especially with Buffalo now, like their lines are in doubt with Jeff Skinner being a game time decision. Like, this is the clear number 2 for me, behind Calgary 1. So, you could put them 1, 1A, but I've got them projected pretty close.
Think their ownership?
Say that again?
What do you think their ownership comes in at, Columbus 1? 15?
Man, I was thinking more like 10, 12, but
yeah,
if it's 15, I'm not going to be surprised.
Love it.
I will be surprised if Skinner doesn't play. I don't know. I mean, he skated this morning, right? But won't Jenner line hard match Montreal 1? I didn't see any hard matching in the last game. And they played at home in their last game. So who knows? Like, Columbus has switched it up on us quite a bit, but I'm guessing it's going to be top 6 against top 6. So good matchups, I think, for both Columbus 1 and Columbus 2. Defensemen here and goalies, Nolan. Got anything you want to talk about?
I prefer, I guess, like I'm kind of downgrading Seth Jones a little bit just because he's not on the power play 1. Don't mind Werenski. Like he's sort of gone down in his ice time a little bit. He was up in like the 28-minute mark, and now he's down to 21, but he's still being priced like he's a 28-minute power play 1 defenseman. So I prefer Werenski, and then nothing really on the Montreal side.
Yeah, I mean, I want to play Jones, but if Werenski is really on that top power play, it's hard to not take the savings, the $900 or the $700 that you get.
Yeah,
with Werenski. So
same ice time, just as much offensive upside.
They're gonna skate with Dubois, Atkinson, and Panarin, and even strength too. So you can play Seth Jones. Like, that's a good way to differentiate.
It's true.
And Seth Jones is just like, I think he's got more upside than Werenski as a one-off.
It's like a Carlson Burns scenario.
Yeah, perfect. I want to see last game if they actually stuck with these power play units. Let's see. Do you know off the top of your head?
I think they did. Yeah, I think I looked it up, and it was like Werenski 80%.
Yeah.
But I got it right here.
Yep,
so
you're right. No, you're right. Werenski was with
50.
With Atkinson, Dubois. So
yeah.
All right. That kind of sucks, but maybe you get a lower owned Seth Jones.
Sure.
All right. Let's move it on then.
Yeah.
Islanders.
Interesting one coming up.
Yeah, Islanders and Caps. We've got a 2.6 implied total for the Isles, 3.4 for the Caps. Isles just handled the Devils last night. The Nelson line was kind of the nut line that you needed. But now going into Washington, pretty sizable underdogs here. First of all, what do we have to talk about for news and notes?
Just that I noted, like, last time before the Predators game, they were going to switch Backstrom to Kuznetsov, or like that's how they finished the third period and before that game, and that's what happened, and it looks like it's going to happen again. So Backstrom's back up with Ovechkin. People probably already know that, and then Kuznetsov is down in the second line. Kuznetsov's struggling a bit. The whole Capitals team is struggling a little bit right now. So yeah, that's all for news and notes. But intriguing spot for Washington because, like, on the paper, this is a terrible matchup, but you got to figure, like, narrative-wise, this team has a lot of pride, and like coming home after that horrible effort against Nashville, against an Islanders team on back-to-backs, like if Washington 1 isn't going to be owned here, I'm a little bit interested in just them as a pivot play off some of these other top lines.
Yeah, one our buddy got to get this win, the trip the other night. So congrats to you, Josh. But so I wanted Kuznetsov with Ovechkin really bad here, but yeah, it looks like it's going to be Backstrom with Ovechkin and Wilson, and that's fine. I mean, I just think Kuznetsov has a little bit more offensive upside in himself. Really liked him paired with Ovi for this matchup, especially if they were going to go up against Barzal, Beauvillier, Bailey. Even if they're going to go up against the Nelson line, I really want to play Ovechkin here. And I'm usually not huge on Ovechkin, so... but yeah, the numbers are pointing me to Ovechkin here. Big total. He'll have some ownership. I don't know how owned this line's going to be because we talked about Calgary 1. It's all going to depend on their ownership. But yeah, give me some Caps 1 here.
It's interesting because like the perception is I think like in the lower dollar contest maybe like Ovechkin will be owned just sort of at his regular rate because that's just sort of what he is. But like and then also you have the perception that the Islanders are still perhaps like not a great defensive team, and they have been this year. So I don't really know what the ownership's going to shake down like. I'm kind of curious, but that would kind of dictate for me. If it's Ovechkin at 15-20%, I probably will be underweight. If he's at 5 to 10%, I'll try and get overweight.
Yeah,
he's usually owned.
He always gets ownership just individually, whether people are playing their cash lineups or whatever. But these Islanders top 2 lines are pretty similar for me as far as matchups. They're average matchups at even strength, but obviously Ovi can get it done on the power play, and Backstrom correlates to him really well. Wilson at 5,700 is whatever, but I think the thing that the Kuznetsov Backstrom swap did for me is at least put the Kuznetsov line in play. Kuznetsov, Oshie, and Verana. Yeah, I like them a little bit. I don't know, like
it's intriguing and cheap.
Yeah, I'm never really on the Caps when the public's not, but looks like that's going to be the case tonight.
Yeah, and like, bruh, Islanders aren't still giving up their share of chances. I don't know why. It's like the numbers would say to like probably to go to the Islanders, but I just kind of maybe it's like a gut feeling, but I kind of just feel like Washington's kind of a sneaky play tonight.
I mean, I love targeting the Caps too.
Yeah.
So I thought I was just I was going to upload my projections this morning and just see a bunch of Islanders, but really just not really much at all. Like if I'm going to a line, it's probably back straight to that Nelson line, but maybe that's more of a product of there not being a defenseman I want to pair to get to a 4-man stack with the Islanders. Like I have Leddy projected way low.
You guys and your Leddy hate. All he does is just score power play goals all day long. No.
Oh God. Yeah, I don't know. I'm like if Leddy was a little cheaper, maybe, but 4,200, I think you can either spend $100 more, a couple $100 more, get someone better, or just punt because he's not really in play for me at 4,200.
That's fair.
Even though I like targeting the Caps back to back for the Islanders, I think it's going to be pretty tough here. Carlson,
yeah, you doing Carlson at all?
Yeah, he is. Let's see. I think I've got him in the top 3. Yeah, he's 3rd behind Giordano and my boy Thomas Shabbat in my last crunch. So
yeah,
he'll be right up there.
Fresh. They rested, I think, a lot during that 3rd period against Nashville. So yeah, I'm expecting Nashville to come out big. On the D, I don't mind like Orlov. Sorry, yeah, the Caps. I don't mind Orlov at 3,000 on and 3,600 on FanDuel. That seems like he's just been priced low. He's not getting shots through, but or not getting shots on net, but he's like normally priced in like the high 3s, so that's a bit of a bargain. Probably one of my favorite like punt defensemen of the night.
Ryan Johansson got suspended. Huh. Imagine that. Yeah, he's a repeat offender, huh?
Yeah. Almost a Canuck.
Made me a lot of money the other night, though. Well, Arvidsson made me a lot of money the other night, but not last night.
Right.
Last night, I gave a lot of it back. All right. Holtby, 7,900. I guess that's okay. I'm not really banking on the Islanders generating a ton here. So, just again, nothing really interesting for goalies for me. Got anything else?
Yeah, agree. I would probably throw like Is it? Yeah, I'd probably throw Holtby into an Islanders stack. But like I just sort of highlighted in my article. Well, it's not like groundbreaking news or anything, but basically like all of the goaltenders in the best spots tonight, they're facing a lot of teams that don't generate a lot of shots. Right. So it's sort of like it's not like a great spot for any of these favorite goalies really. Like, and that's why I kind of sort of lean towards correlating more tonight, because basically you're just, the shot differentials are so small, you're basically just like hoping for those win points, right? Otherwise you're going full contrarian.
Yep. I think the good part about that is there's enough home favorites that we're not going to get like a super chalk goalie, so you don't have to eat the Alex Stalock chalk, which obviously didn't work out well. In general, I'm fine with goalie chalk, though. I'm fine taking a home favorite. You need that win. If a goalie breaks the slate like Gibson did last night, that's fine. But I don't see Greiss breaking the slate here at 7,700. I'd rather go elsewhere.
Yeah. Oh, Greiss in that too. Love it.
Yeah. All right, Senators and the Carolina Hurricanes, one that's going to be really chalky. Anders Nilsson going up against Peter Mrazek, 2.8 implied total for the Sens, 3.8 for the Canes. Nino Niederreiter making his debut. What else is there for news here, Nolan?
Niederreiter on line 3 with Greg McKaig and Justin Williams. They've reunited Carolina 2 with Walmark, Martinook, and Svechnikov, which is insane. I shared in our Slack chat, premium Slack chat, the NHL leaders in high danger chances for. It's like, all of the big names in the NHL, and then like interspersed into this is Walmark at 4, Martinook at 6, Svechnikov at 10. Like they've been amazing, both apart and together, and they're priced super low in a four goal total game. So I'm going to be using them as my secondary stack a lot tonight. Maybe those numbers are inflated, but I still think they're pretty damn good. And then on the other side, I think nothing new for Ottawa. Just same lines as their game from the other night against Colorado.
Yeah. So Carolina obviously going to be pretty chalky here. I don't know what you're doing with the third line, but if I can't play the full line with Niederreiter because he's not on DK, I'm probably just going to avoid them. Like, I don't think I'm going to lose sleep over not playing McKaig and Williams.
Yeah, fair.
And then you mentioned that Walmart line. I think they're a really awesome secondary stack. It's also not going to be a secret. They're going to pop some in optimizers for people. And then the Aho line should be a top 4 or 5 stack of the night. Going to be a lot of people's number ones just because of how bad the Sens have been. They've been doing some hard matching with Aho, Teravainen, and Ferland. And if they do that and they go up against Tierney, Kachuk, Stone, that's a little bit of a concern.
But still giving up their fair share of chances, though. I mean, they're better offensively, but like both those top 2 lines are like 25 scoring chances against per game, 12 high danger chances against per game. Yeah. So I'm not super worried about it.
Yeah, agreed. So with Shabbat back, I don't know his defensive metrics, but I know he's a boost over a lot of other guys that the Senators were playing. So maybe it makes them a little better defensively. They've still been awful on the road, even with Shabbat earlier in the season. So
I think it also just like ups their tempo. It's like they can compete offensively a little bit more, and like it just sort of creates a little bit more of a high event game when he's in. Like
he's the puck mover.
Yeah, exactly. And I feel like they've been kind of like maybe shutting it down a little bit. Like we haven't seen like the huge outputs against them lately. So, and then I noticed like last game as well. This was at home, but Boucher really relied heavily on Ottawa 3 up against Colorado 1. And that's obviously he's not going to get last change here, so that's not going to be a huge advantage for him. But they were amazing against Colorado 1. They didn't get Colorado 1 didn't have a single high danger chance against in that game. So that's something to keep your eye on as things develop, especially if Ottawa's at home. You might see a scenario where Ottawa 3 is going to be hard matched against some of the top lines in the if they're at home. So keep an eye on that. Probably won't happen tonight.
Right. Because Carolina gets last change. But yeah, they did use that Pajot line quite a bit last year, and that was actually they had really bad numbers. I don't know.
Yeah. They were. I looked at them. They weren't terrible.
Okay.
They were like,
Maybe
like,
it was.
Maybe
it was
I'm wrong.
Smith,
maybe
Pajot, and someone else. I can't remember.
Okay.
Maybe it was
I
Bobby
might have had the line combo wrong. Oh, it's Bobby Ryan. That's why.
Yeah, I think that probably had a lot to do with it.
Yeah.
But I'm interested to see Carolina's ownership here, specifically that top line, because they didn't come up a ton for me. I'm kind of surprised by what my crunches were spitting out for me, but
Number one A grade, only A grade A value tonight for Massimo.
On DK.
Yeah,
Yeah.
on and FanDuel.
They're an awesome play. I think, though, I'm going to end up underweight because I am on some other of these mid-tier stacks, so I want to spread it around a little bit more. Like, if they're 20%, I'm going to be underweight.
Yeah.
If they're 15%.
I think so, too. Also, like, Aho's just kind of expensive. Like, he's 7,100 on DK.
Right.
That's pricey for him.
Yeah.
It's been great, but, like, he should be in the mid-sixes, not.
Mm-hmm. And I really like Furland up there, too. Full power play correlation. Like, it's a scary fade for sure.
Mm-hmm.
But... And I'm not fading them, but I am expecting to be underweight on them. You like anything on the Ottawa side?
I think that definitely, like, as a contrarian play, like, if you're gonna take Ottawa, like, take them and take Nilsson, right? Like, the guy we saw the other night, he can steal a win. He's basically got some of the most egregious, like, splits in terms of wins and losses in the NHL. His save percentage is like 970 when he wins and 813 when he loses. So that's the perfect kind of GPP play for me. I'm sure that I'm going to balance out my Carolina exposure with some Ottawa 2 and Nilsson stacks, and he will be low owned. And of course, we've touched many times on the advantages of taking goaltenders against the Carolina Hurricanes. So sign me up for a few of those lineups.
Which lineup or which line do you consider?
Ottawa I'd probably just go the Tierney Tkachuk line, just because their numbers are so much better than the Duchesne line. But I don't know what you're usually on them as well, right?
Yep. That's the line I like on Ottawa's side. So they're showing up as the top line here. Depending on which site, it may be. They may be listed as the top line. They may be listed as the second line. But yeah, Tierney, Stone, Tkachuk. I think that's the line I want to go to. If you can fit Shabbat, which shouldn't be too much of an issue, I like that as well. Just Stone and Tkachuk create so many quality looks, and I think
probably not a bad option for GPPs. Hey, like they're going to be 5% owned, I'm guessing.
Yeah, I don't think they're going to be very owned at all.
Yeah.
So I'm excited about that. I'm excited about being overweight on Shabbat. Didn't have a normal Shabbat game, just 5 DK points I think last game out, but I'm expecting big things from him.
Nice shot blocking opportunities as well, with Carolina generating so many shots, especially from the point. So
he only played 18 minutes. That's a little bit of a concern because the big thing with him is he was playing like 23, 24, 25 minutes at times before his injury. So I'm expecting that to go up a little bit, especially if this game's competitive. So
right.
I actually do like Shabbat. I'm not even trolling. 6,100. I think that's a fair price for him.
Yeah, absolutely.
And then on the
especially as a one-off.
Yep. On the Carolina side, you've got Falk or Hamilton or Slavin, whoever you want to choose. For me, I'm taking some shots on Dougie tonight, and he's just going to shoot it a lot when he's on the ice. Probably won't play a ton of minutes, but I do like him as like a one-off play for 5,200.
Probably, let me just look up the Carolina correlation here, but probably better off going like Hamilton, Carolina 2, if you're going to stack those, and then Falk with Carolina 1. But last game was on the road. But generally speaking, there was a time when they had some really strong correlation numbers with their defensemen. So yeah, it looks like even on the road, last time it was Pesci and Slavin with Slavin with Aho and Teravainen, and then Hamilton with the McKay line. So I don't know. And Falk's just kind of all over the place.
All right. Yeah, so it makes it a little bit tough to stack these Carolina defensemen. Isn't Slavin on power play 1 now? Actually, we should probably check on that really quick before we move on.
I haven't seen anything on that.
I thought Corsi said that maybe he played on power play 1 last game. Let me check that really quick. While I'm doing that, do you have anything on?
Yeah, he was on power play. So basically, like, he wasn't on the power play 1. He just got a lot of power play time, I guess. Well, Falk was on there for a portion, so it was kind of split evenly between them. But he was just on his usual spot with Rask, Walmark, and Svechnikov. And then he got a little bit of ice time with the top power play unit. But I don't know. I thought like Falk was left that game or something. Just double check.
Okay, Falk played 1:37. Interesting. Slavin. This is weird. Left wing lock is fake news. It's all Falk. Okay, Slavin is 100% not on PP1. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Also, like their last game they were down 6-2 in the third, so it's also possible that they were just like mailing it in, right?
Yeah, that could be. Jake likes Dougie. That is correct. I'm back on Dougie. All right, Corsi looks like he did a deep dive. That's a pretty good source. So Slavin not on the top power play, it looks like. Shabbat will play more on road. Sends PP stack. Yeah. Osimo has been great. Yeah. Whether you're talking about us or Osimo himself, he crushes NHL. He crushes every sport. But yeah, Osimo, cool guy too. So hopefully we can have him on here at some point, maybe during the NBA All-Star break. We had him on once earlier this season.
Oh yeah, that'd be awesome.
But yeah, I'll ask him if he's interested in that.
Do a roundtable, macro chat about strategy.
For sure. Anything else in this game before we move on?
Nothing. Love it. I'm in on it.
Cool. We're doing good for time. We've got a couple more games. Detroit and Calgary. 2.7 implied total for Detroit, 3.8 for Calgary here. Jimmy Howard going up against Mike Smith. News and notes, Nolan?
James Neal returns for the Calgary Flames in his usual third-line spot, I think with Jankowski and Sam Bennett. And then I think Hamonick's supposed to go as well. He will probably line up. I think he normally is with Hanifin. Yeah. So he's expected to go as well. Okay. And that is it, I think.
So Hamonic would be in place of... We're showing Rasmus Anderson.
Rasmus Anderson, okay. Yeah. I think they're expecting him... He was away for personal reasons. I think they're expecting him back tonight.
Okay. Interesting. So just be aware of that. What you're seeing on the screen may not be completely correct, and just account for Hamonic if you guys want to play Hamonic, who actually probably wouldn't be that terrible of a play tonight.
Yeah.
Anyone on Calgary, really.
Might get power play two-tone.
Yeah, I think he's been on the power play at times. It's better than TJ Brody, but that's for another day. Any Carolina love? Yeah, we just talked about Carolina. So just scroll back on live, and you'll see. There's not much to talk about Carolina. They're going up against Ottawa. Ottawa on the road. Ottawa's terrible defensively. So, yeah, a bunch of Carolina love, but everyone's going to love them.
Yeah.
All right, so we've got a very expensive Calgary 1 line here. I think they're a relatively clear number 1 option tonight. Mm-hmm. Now that we're kind of going through all of this and we're talking about Carolina, like you can't jam in Carolina 1 and Calgary 1.
No.
You can't do that with the Buffalo top line. You can't do that with Washington 1, or I think you can't do it with either of the top 2 Toronto lines. So maybe a little less ownership than I anticipated when I started looking at this last night. But it just looks like what they call the smash spot for Calgary 1 here. They're not going to get Larkin. What I wrote basically in the Stacks article was that Detroit's a 1-line team. This Larkin, Nyquist, Bertuzzi line just carrying a very heavy burden at this point. Mantha being back and playing top 6 minutes does help. But he's playing with Nielsen and Vanek. That line's going to be not good defensively. So Monahan and Joe Lindholm's going to see that line. Then they're going to see the Glendening, Athanasiou, Helm line, which sign me up for that every day of the week. It's just hard.
So you expect we're expecting like Calgary 2 to go up against Detroit 1 match.
So coming into last game, you had I was a little bit unsure. It was a home game for Calgary. I can't remember who they were going up against, but in their home game before that, they had been kind of splitting time with Calgary 1 and Calgary 2 against opposing top competition. Maybe it was against Barkov. It doesn't really matter. But last game, they hard matched Calgary 2, which we expected, against Buffalo 1. Now they lost that game, but it was a very hard match, and Calgary had no business losing that game. I'm assuming they go back to the same thing tonight, just try to take out Larkin with the Backlund line, and just let Calgary 1 roam free. And that's really bad news for Detroit here.
Yeah, I agree. Yeah, I'm going to be the Flames will be my most heavily owned line tonight. I can't really get off them. They got a good power play matchup. Giordano in the stacks. Like if you want to get creative, maybe take Lindholm off and add Kachuk or go full power play stacks. But definitely going to have a lot of them. and because the Detroit depth is just so weak. And then yeah, just get creative with your pairings. Like I think there are probably going to be some pretty popular ones. Carolina 2 will probably be popular. Toronto 3, maybe Washington 2. But yeah, you can find some interesting ones. I know like Vancouver 1 is actually pretty cheap. They're not in a bad spot, and they should get a fair chunk of the offensive ice time for them. You could always pair them with Demko as well, who's super cheap. But yeah, all in on Calgary, don't have anything bad to say. I think you pretty much summed it up perfectly. Pretty hard to get off him tonight.
Yeah, and I didn't even really mention the power play matchup. I just talked about even strength. Like even strength, they should generate a ton of chances. But if Detroit's going to commit penalties at the rate they have been, so right now, updated from last night, they're tied for 6th most time shorthanded. Like about 3.5 times per game. If they give Calgary 3 power plays, it's hard to imagine them not converting one with Control, Monahan, and Lindholm, and Giordano to Kachuk. Like, it's just such a good unit. And Detroit sucks on the kill, just over 78% for the season. Yeah, I have a hard time imagining Calgary 1 failing here, at least. They may not reach perfect value for their prices, but they've got to score here.
It's just a question of whether or not another line's going to outscore them, really, because you can only have one of these big lines. So if you think like Carolina, but like Carolina 1 at $4,000 more on DK or 4,000 less, but they're probably going to get similar ownership, I'd imagine. So I don't know. None of these other lines are really popping the way Calgary pops tonight, except for maybe Columbus 1.
Yep.
And Carolina 1.
Yeah. The only issue, not the only issue, but they're super expensive, so it's tough to fit them in with Giordano, which I don't like. Like, I really want Giordano with Calgary 1. There's ways to do it. Like you mentioned, Calgary 2.
Florida 2.
Florida 2. Carolina 2. Like, there are some options. Arizona's got a bunch of cheap lines. Yeah. So if you just mix and match, like,
if you're MMEing, just pop in like a few different low on combos that go the full testosterone move and pair them with a bunch of like random third lines in good positions and high price D, and you're good to go.
That's what I plan on doing. So it's not too difficult to fit them. So the question is, can you get Giordano in there? And I'm seeing some lineups where I can get him in there, and that's really awesome. And in the lineups I don't have Calgary 1, it's going to be a lot of Giordano anyways, because I think he's the best defensive play of the night by a good margin.
Yeah,
6,600. Someone in chat asked very nicely, could you make a case for playing Detroit? Matt C asks.
Mike Smith?
Mike C. Oh, yeah. Mike Smith. Yeah, that's a pretty good rebuttal. I mean, Larkin is awesome. This Larkin, Nyquist, Bertuzzi line has been very good at generating chances. Even strength, I don't like the matchup much.
The other case, I guess, is just that Calgary 2 has the rep of being like the best defensive line in hockey, and they haven't been that this year. So, it's not as bad a matchup as we would have assumed, or that people probably assume. Probably a great contrarian play for GPPs. I would guess they're going to be like 2 to 3% owned. So, that's the case for them generally in any. If you're going to roster Detroit, it's just to do it in GPPs. And like we always talk about the best lines and everything, but the reality is some bad plays are good too if they're not owned. So I don't have any problem with Detroit. As well.
No, I think you put that pretty well. If I'm going to Detroit, I will say it's going to be Larkin, Bertuzzi, Nyquist. Even with what I said about it being a bad matchup, like they're still priced somewhat fairly. And
Detroit, not Detroit too. So cheap?
Oh, God, I don't think so. The reason I would get to a Detroit 2 is, like, if I'm playing Calgary 1 on the other side. So outside of, like, maybe a couple fillers, if I'm, like, I had one lineup with, and it wasn't even with Calgary 1. I had one Detroit 2 lineup in my last 100 that I crunched. So it's just going to be tough for me to get to them. I don't like them if they're going to see a healthy dose of Monahan, Gaudreau, Lindholm. Seems like a lot of time in their own zone.
Also true.
Yeah, you mentioned Mike Smith, 8,100. I would avoid Howard if you can. If you love your lineup and you have 7K remaining, man, isn't Mrazek? Or I'm sorry.
No, Mrazek's pricey.
Isn't there someone else that's around this price? Like, I'd rather go Luongo. So
Luongo 69. I thought there was someone too here that I really liked, but maybe I'm wrong. I thought Demko would be way cheaper.
They had him priced up. They were prepared.
Oh, I'd probably go like maybe Kemper. Probably rather have Kemper.
Yeah, I mean, if you can afford the extra $200, then yeah, definitely go Kemper. But go like Howard's my least favorite of these cheap goalies. I'll say that.
I agree.
So there's the case to play Detroit, Matt C. Not a very great one, but I think it's a Calgary night. All right. A couple more games. We've got the Penguins and the Arizona Coyotes. 3.4 implied total for Pittsburgh, 2.7 for Arizona. Matt Murray expected to go against Darcy Kemper. Again, super, super cheap lines on Arizona. It seems like it happens every single slate they're on. And then Pittsburgh, offensively very talented, of course. You've got a couple lines to choose from, maybe even 3 lines to choose from on each side. So what are you doing with this one, Nolan?
So I think like if you really want to get creative tonight, and we don't know if Patrick Hornqvist is going to be back for the Penguins, but he did skate on a line last practice with Malkin and Kessel. That was yesterday morning. So we don't know. I'm assuming he's going to miss tonight, just because I think like you're Pittsburgh, you don't want to take risks with a guy who's had concussion problems. But he did practice again this morning. It was an optional morning skate, and Hornqvist was out there with the other injured players, basically. So like I don't know if that means anything. But if he does play, and those 3 do go together, you're going to have a really good line in a fairly decent price at no ownership. Obviously, this is one of the later games in the slate, so it's kind of difficult to tell, but it is at the same time, puck drop is at the same time as the Flames game. So if you got like some lineups that are drawing dead, or you want to get creative, and if you find out those 3 are together, I kind of love putting in Pittsburgh 2 here and just crossing your fingers. It's not the greatest matchup. Arizona's been great on the penalty kill and just generally pretty stout defensively this season, but that's my take on this game. Also, the other note is that he did practice on the power play 2 yesterday, so he would likely not take his power play 1 spot if he does return, and Guentzel will be on the power play 1.
Yeah, that's like I think Guentzel. I like the Guentzel-Crosby duo. I don't really like that Rust is almost 5K. And I would think we're going to see the step-on line go against Crosby. Could be completely off on that. Arizona doesn't do a ton of hard matching. But I'm just not really on Pittsburgh again. So I always hate talking about Pittsburgh because I feel like I just, like my numbers just always hate them. And I'd like to get to them. Like they have very talented players, but I'm just not really getting there. And I hope they're chalky because I'm just not really going to get to a lot of Pittsburgh. It's just a price thing.
They won't be chalky, I don't think, at least not on DraftKings anyways. I think the perception of Arizona is that they're defensively stout now is there, and they just they're second again in fantasy points allowed to right wingers, 6th in fantasy points allowed to centers. Pittsburgh's on the road. Like there's just a lot of things kind of lining up. So I think like Pittsburgh comes in at under 10%. But we saw a scenario like this last game where they were not owned, or not last game, but last week against the Ducks, they were not owned. Everyone overlooked them, and they were the line that won all the money that night. So
yeah,
I agree with you though. Macro wise, it's not a good spot for them.
No, I don't. It just seems like they get there in these bad spots where they're chalky. So if they're not going to be chalky,
I don't think they'll be chalky.
Yeah. I think the Malkin line might get some steam just because he's playing with 2 cheap line mates. But yeah, I don't think the Crosby line is going to be all that chalky. Arizona just such a tough penalty kill. So and that's a huge part of Pittsburgh's game. So huge total. Like Pittsburgh probably can generate some offense here, even at maybe even on the power play. But I just don't see like the slate breaking upside for some of these prices on these guys. So that being said, I'm more on Arizona's side, which is terrifying. Which Arizona line is your favorite?
I guess the Gouch. I don't know. I'm not gonna roster them tonight. I just feel like you've had some success with them, but like I for whatever reason, like they just don't ever seem to go off enough for GPPs. Although like you probably would make the counter argument to that. But yeah, I'll probably have like some of the Stepan line is just terrible offensive numbers together. So I will be fading them completely. And then So I'll probably go like 1 and 3 in like a few stacks, but I'm not going to be like not going to have any tons of ownership.
Yeah, I think the step on line is going to pop for most people if you're using other projection services. For me, it's the Cousins, Galchenyuk, Garland line. You get 2 guys in the top power play. And I think they're going to see a decent amount of time against Brassard, Kessel, Sheehan, which is just an atrociously bad defensive line. So that's the one I want to target. I think the Cousins line sees a good amount of time against them. If they see the Malkin line, that's fine too. They've got good numbers as far as shot generation goes. The chances haven't been great. But if they get matched up against this Brassard line, I really, really like their chances for cheap too. So you don't need, like, you might need a full line goal and then, a point or 2 extra for them to get there. But they do fit with basically every other line on the slate pretty comfortably. So really like Arizona.
All 3, all of these except for Arizona 3 not getting a good grade from Osimo. That's weird.
I know. It's a little they didn't see a lot of time last game.
Yeah.
So I think they only saw like 11 minutes each. So that's a bit worrisome. But in the games before, they were seeing like 13, 14, 15. So hopefully they continue that tonight.
Nice. Yeah. I think if you're going to play this game, you're probably going to have ownership on your side. That's my hot take on that one.
Yeah, I think the step on line will be the most owned, and then the wheel line, and then the Cousins, Galchenyuk, Garland line. So I'm playing the ownership game there a little bit unintentionally. Ekman Larson, Letang. I like Chikrin for 4,100 a ton. Osimo does not really agree. He's more of the Ekman Larson camp.
Your model is the Chikrin.
I know.
Chikrin Lovin model.
He just per 60. He's a very high event shooter. So that's my deal with Chikrin.
I'll take my Nick Leddy.
Oh God, give me Chikrin over Nick Leddy every single day for the rest of the slate. I'll win that probably 85%.
We should just have like one-off pools.
Yeah, one-off pools.
All right. I guess we only got a few minutes left here. Should we move on?
Yeah, let's move it on. I do like Kemper also. Got anything on goalie?
Yeah. Low owned, high shot volume probably. Decent.
Yep. You have to get out of here quick.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, we don't have anyone coming on right after us, so we're good.
Okay.
Buffalo Sabres, Vancouver Canucks, 2.7 implied total for the Sabres, 2.9 for the Canucks. Linus Ullmark going up against Thatcher Demko, quite the name there, making his first start of the season, I believe.
Yeah.
What about line changes here, Nolan?
Yeah, so Jeff Skinner was a game-time decision. I think most people are expecting him to play. I don't know who would move up to his spot, probably like Connor Sheary or something, or maybe they just pull like a post off the 4th line. If he can't go, it's kind of a weird situation to be in because obviously you're not able to switch out lines with this being a 7 o'clock start. So if you're going to go with Buffalo 1 and Skinner can't play, your only bet to really maximize your dollar value is probably to switch off to the Canucks and take the Horvat-Besser line. So if you're going to do that, that means you're probably going to have to switch goaltenders, and you're probably still going to have to leave some cash on the table, maybe like 4-stack Buffalo, switch them over to Vancouver 1 and Edler or something. So there's that option as well. On the top line, Sven Baertschi's down on Vancouver 2, and Antoine Roussel's up on Vancouver 1. Weakens them, I think, a little bit offensively, but maybe a little bit cheaper as well. And then Baertschi's still in the power play 1, but Besser and Horvat have power play 1 correlation.
Yeah, the Roussel on Besser and Horvat's line is quite a head scratcher.
Yeah. Oh, well, we do a lot of head scratching things out here in Vancouver, especially considering benching your like 4th leading scorer all season.
So do you think putting Roussel in that line means that they're going to go up against Eichel, Skinner, Reinhart? I mean, that would be the only reason why you put Roussel up there, right?
Yeah, that's a good point. I actually haven't looked at how much green line matches. Have you?
They've been going with the Sutter line, if I remember correctly. Yeah. I'll check on that.
Yeah, see, that's the thing. Like, you've got, like, Beagle, who takes, like, so many defensive zone.
They go with the last game. I remember I wrote this in chat this morning. I was looking at it. Last game they went with the Beagle line as the hard match against McDavid, and they actually did an okay job.
God.
But
yeah, that's what they love. They love doing in Vancouver is like they love putting like the 3rd and 4th line out against top lines. So that's why they got Sutter. They were grooming some third round pick. I can't remember, but when they when they introduced the press conference, or they had like a meeting, and they had like some third round pick whose name escapes me, and they were going to be like, that was going to be their way to combat Connor McDavid moving forward. So yeah, that's what this is. I think it's just as an organization they love to do. So yeah, you might see some plus matchups for Vancouver 1.
Yeah.
I got to figure out that player.
So I think it would be a pretty dumb thing to do with the Beagle line. Like, it worked last game. Congrats. But, like, Eichel, Skinner, Reinhart can generate a lot. And, you know, that's just even strength. On the power play, the Canucks commit a lot of penalties. Not as many as of late, but I really like the power play matchup for Eichel, Skinner, and Reinhart. So I like Buffalo 1. I guess I sort of like Horvat and Besser. I just hate Roussel up there, and who knows if he sticks. So you could just go straight up. You could just go Horvat, Besser, Baertschi here and just make it easy. But
Cole Castles, that's what I was thinking of. So yeah, I'm actually just staying away from this game. I think, I don't know, Vancouver at home, Buffalo. Yeah, I don't know. Like, but I feel like Vancouver's really tightened things up defensively since Sutter and Beagle have come back, and so like, I'm not entirely sure that their chances for and against are I mean, they're not exactly great players, but they definitely don't play high event hockey. So I think my just gut instinct is that this is going to be a pretty low scoring game. I think, well, Vegas obviously supports that notion as well. So I think that Buffalo 1 is at least going to be a bit of a contrarian play if you want to go that route.
That's kind of why I like it. Just a good line that you're going to get at low ownership. So they're really fairly priced, and if they can get a few power plays here, I think that's a pretty good deal for them at this price. So I like Buffalo 1. I'm going to be easily over the field on them. Looking at the refs right here, their 2 refs are 6th and 2nd in goals per game. They don't call a ton of penalties, so maybe it's just a little bit of variance on their side. But it looks like some okay refs for them as well, if you're into that kind of thing.
Oh, that's good. That's good to know. Then the other note I had on this game is just that Ben Hutton's been separated from Eric Goodbranson. So Goodbranson's just like a dead weight. Like, he's legit maybe one of the worst, top 5 worst defensemen in the league. And Hutton's like has some offensive skill. He's shown it before. His numbers with and without Goodbranson are stark. So his price point is still pretty low. So if you need a cheaper defenseman, he's 38. His price is getting up a little bit, but he's getting 20-plus minutes. I don't think it's the worst play in the world. He's certainly got a little bit more offensive potential than he's shown with Goodbranson.
Yep. Edler first, then it would be Hutton for me. On the Buffalo side, you can play Dahlin or Ristolainen. Dahlin's seeing a lot of minutes. Ristolainen and Palut as your punt. You like him? 3K?
Nah, I don't even know if he's in. Like, they seem to be alternating him. No, I don't like him too much. I mean, like, as a punt play, sure, but
yeah,
I think
I just want Buffalo. Yeah, I just want Buffalo power play 1. So I'm probably gonna stick with Dahlin and Risto here.
Yeah, I think like him and Orlov would be the 2 that like low own 3,000 deep. But yeah,
I think this one's just gonna be a throwaway for a lot of people. Just they see the low total, whatever, last game of the night. But I guess
that's why I like Vancouver 1 a little bit.
You gonna play him with Roussel?
Yeah, I'm gonna play him.
Okay.
Yeah. I just think they're gonna how else is Vancouver gonna score really? I don't know. Like, they're gonna be put out in every single offensive situation, right?
Yeah.
So.
All right. Well, goalies here. Allmark.
Yeah, I don't mind taking Demko in a Vancouver stack. Yeah, I think maybe we'll go with narrative a little bit for start of the season. Like, he had a .922 save percentage last year, .911 this year. So it's not like he's one of the top 10 goalie prospects for a couple of years now, so he's got some upside there. It's a flyer. He's too expensive, cheaper on FanDuel, but definitely worth a flyer or 2.
Yeah, that's understandable. I'll probably have some Demko, but the majority of my exposure here is going to be Allmark, I think. So, in correlation with Buffalo 1. So I'm probably not getting to a lot of Allmark in my non-Buffalo 1 lineups, but yeah, he's okay for 7,500. I think this is a reasonable game for Buffalo to win, and I like their top line. All right, that is going to do it for today. Quite a long day of videos for Nolan and I. Check out the FC DFS guide for NHL DFS that we just recorded before this. Just kind of some evergreen content. We're trying to give more evergreen content, and what that means is just like content that applies not only to a specific slate like this video, but that you can use in all slates. So we're a big fan of that at Osmo.com. And yeah, Nolan, you got anything to say about this slate?
Carolina 2, let's go. I'm in. 80%.
All right, good luck, guys.